Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Why taking action won't fix your procrastination problem? That's true. A lot of us are procrastinators. Guilty, guilty, guilty. I do this all the time when it comes to organizing my home, and I'm sure you guys can identify with procrastination. Well, we're here manifesting our dreams with Diana Bejasa, and you might say, well, who's Diana Bejasa? She is someone who can help you as a life coach, chapter success coach, and energy healer, author. She joins us again here to talk about these procrastination issues and, of course, how she can help us. How are you today?
I'm doing fabulous, Jill. It's great to see you today.
You too. How is everyone feeling? I know about 2-3 weeks ago, I think you guys were both under the weather, right? You and your daughter?
Yeah, I feel good as new. We were spending some time at the beach this weekend, which was really nice as well. Ollie got her first time on a boogie board, on like one of those body boards, and she really enjoyed it. So,
Oh, congrats. Well, how close do you live to the beach, by the way? Just curious, because she is in Hawaii,
well,
Honolulu, right? Just how far is the beach from where you are?
living in Hawaii, I live about 10-15 minutes from like the closest beach. And so it's pretty easy to go frequently, and we feel very lucky for that.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for being here. For those that don't know, tell us a little about the work you do and your passion in helping people.
Yeah, I am passionate about helping high performing leaders who want to achieve their top goals, but don't want to work themselves into the ground. And I'm out here disrupting those old personal development myths that make us think that we need to work harder, because I believe that the highest achievers actually work smarter. I think that instead of just burning out, real success is about fueling our fire strategically.
Well, I love what you do. Tell us how we can contact you. I see it there on your screen, but if you're just on the podcast, tell us all the ways we can reach you.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Diana Bejasa Speaks. So that's DIANABEJASA Speaks. You can also find my website, www.savorlifewithdiana.com. I have free masterclass on there. I also have a link to do a free consultation if you want to dive deeper into any of the topics that we discuss. Yeah.
Well, today we are working on the procrastination chapter of our episode 23. Can't believe it. It's why taking action won't fix your procrastination problem. Why is that? What? Explain this to us.
Yeah, you've probably heard from other people that the way to fix that, if you're procrastinating, the thing you need to do is take action. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yes. And attack it
Yeah.
head on. Like, yes. I'm so confused.
Yeah. So has that worked for you? Just
No.
taking action? And
I
you know what I mean?
start I
So I think
start
it's
taking
kind of
action.
like,
I do, and then I stop.
yeah,
I stop.
yeah,
I can't get it done. And it's household stuff, sweetheart. And it's becoming like a hoarding situation in my home where there's so much stuff. And then, like, my sister took my kids on Saturday to help me for like 6 hours. I got so much done. I put the Halloween and Christmas decorations away that have been sitting in the hall, but I had to first organize the attic to make room for it. And then guess what? I feel really good. But guess what? When am I going to have that chance again to now work on the other piles? It's just going to keep stacking up, I feel like. I'm sorry to bore you with my problems, but this is my procrastination issue, so I really can relate to this.
yeah. I hear you, Jill. Yeah. And so I think it's like telling somebody who's overweight, like, oh, just stop eating. Or it's just like, you have a procrastination problem. Oh, okay, just take action. It's like, sure. But if that advice isn't working, then I think we got to dig a little deeper. And what I find, right, especially to people who are listening to the Podcast Business News Network, right, we are high achieving, we're driven, we're brilliant. That's why we're looking at podcasts to learn and to grow. But we're also feeling this never ending pressure to perform, to get better. We might be going through our own exhaustion, right? But we've read the productivity books, we've listened to the speeches, we've tried the to-do list hacks, and we know that procrastination is a problem, but we don't know how to escape it, right? And like you said, Jill, like maybe we're able to escape it temporarily and make a little bit of progress, but it feels like the thing that we're wanting to fix is so big that it feels like overwhelming. Like no matter how little we do when we take action, it's not really working. And I find that when we just have that advice, like just take action, what that really does is it just deepens our shame. Right? We're already frustrated about the piles and the piles and the piles of stuff. And what we need instead is a truth that's going to really hit deeper, right? And help us to actually figure out what's the root of this problem so that we can be freed from it. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, because I believe that procrastination is not just laziness.
Hallelujah. I like hearing that. It's not just laziness. There's something else going on in us, please, right? So we're not alone with this.
Yes.
All right, explain it. I got to figure
Yeah.
this one out. Go ahead.
We all are figuring it out. And that's kind of why I chose this topic. I was like, I see myself procrastinating a little bit. I think this is the perfect time to talk about this. And I think that sometimes when we have these personal development gurus, a lot of times it feels like they're preaching from a platform, like, oh, I'm so perfect, I never procrastinate, right? Or like, I just fix my procrastination instantly by taking action. And it's like, okay, that's great for you, but obviously it's not really working for me. And so it feels like we're disconnected from the advice or the feedback that we're getting. And when we dig deeper into procrastination, it is something very human for us to do, and it is not laziness. What it is a stress response. It's not a character flaw. It's not proof
Okay.
that we're lazy. It's proof that somehow we don't feel safe. So our brain is resisting the work because it feels overwhelming, right? It feels like there's so much of a toll that we're gonna like. It feels like it's too big. It feels like, oh my God, to get out of all these, to get the clean home that I'm looking for, it just feels like there's so much that I have to do in order for that, right? And so what it is it's not about really discipline, it's about more discomfort tolerance, right? So we're not avoiding the task, we're avoiding all the feelings that are going to come with it, right? The dread, there's so much to do, right? Like all those different things. And um, what our brain is telling us when we experience this procrastination is it's our brain who's not feeling safe, right? It's waving this red flag telling us like, hello, like something about this is uncomfortable. And what we're trying to do instead is say like, no, 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 brain, push through, force ourselves, right? Like, and again, that works temporarily, like you were experiencing, right, Joe? Like it works a little bit, but it doesn't work the whole way. And I think what we're really looking for is more of a long-term situation, right? Like more of a long-term solution. So there's something about I guess, Jill, in your case, the messy home that feels comfortable, right?
Yeah,
Or like
I
there's
don't know
something about,
anything else, but I want to
yeah,
know something. Back before I had kids, I knew what it was like to have a clean, organized, things put away home. I did struggle at times, but I always had the time to get it done. But I feel like a weight lifted off my shoulder, less mental duress, less. Not every time I go out that I'm all I care about is getting home because I have stuff to do. I
yeah,
remember those days, and it felt good, and I know it's. I'm in my comfort zone of 10 years of dealing with piles and I'm sick of it. And even like on my desk, like mail and stuff that sits here, I have an issue, but hoping,
yeah,
this, you're inspiring me for this 2025, sweetheart. Thank you.
yeah, of course. It's kind of like, I don't know, I don't do this anymore, but for a long time, whenever I would wake up to an alarm, I would instantly hit snooze, right? I'd be like, just 5 more minutes, right? Like just we know that we're supposed to get up, right? It's why we set an alarm
Yeah.
for whatever time it is that we set the alarm for. But it's like, especially right now during the winter, right? Like the bed just feels so warm and safe. And that's exactly what our brain is doing too when we procrastinate. It's trying to keep you somewhere that's comfortable, safe in a way, even though, like you were saying, staying there, feeling that way is
Yeah.
infuriating.
Hmm.
Um, so I find that a lot of times there's got to be this little bit of grace when it comes to procrastination, right? Because what we're finding is that hating ourselves for procrastinating on this thing, feeling frustrated with ourselves, shaming ourselves, judging ourselves for not moving forward, it's not really helping.
Hmm.
So we got to try something else. And I find that the truth is many of us don't actually want to get over procrastination. because we've actually tricked ourselves into thinking that we're thriving under pressure.
Oh, it's so true. Oh, oh my gosh, I'm not thriving under pressure, but some people can, not me.
Right, but like there's something about those last minute deadlines or like I'm sure you've felt this before. It's like somebody's coming over, you don't want them to see the piles, and so you like
I
stress
throw
clean,
it.
right?
I throw it under the bed. I throw it in the cabinet. Sorry, my
Right.
nose. Yeah, yes, and it looks great, but I'm like, don't
Yeah.
open the cabinet. Don't.
Same time, like there's a little bit of this like thrill that comes from like that last minute working under the
Yeah,
pressure to like get everything like organized, right? And I think that that's a lie that we're telling ourselves, right? We do not do our best work last minute. We do not thrive under pressure. We tolerate it. And what's really going on there is this addiction to that high stakes game because feeling calm feels foreign. So, having a clean home that, like all those things, it doesn't feel natural to us. It feels like you were saying, like you've been experiencing it for like 10 years. Like there's something about that like part of you doesn't want to feel.
yep.
Part of you doesn't want to clean home. You know what I mean? And like I don't mean that in a way that's like anything other than like an exploration for yourself, right? It's like why don't I want this? What's going on, right? And I think that if instead of just pushing past that part of us that's displaying the procrastination and showing us like we don't want this, right? I think there's a lot of value instead of just forcing ourselves or shaming ourselves for feeling that way, right? For procrastinating, for not doing what we need to. There's something really powerful about just listening like to ourselves and saying like, what's going on? Like why is it that I'm doing this? Like what about this doesn't feel safe? Or what about this is uncomfortable? Or what about the chaos or the uncleanliness or the stress is comfortable?
That's all I kind of know.
Yeah. And and especially like I mean, given your work, Jill, for example, like you're used to really high pressure environments. You're used to like high stakes and like and there have been ways that you have thrived under those like
Pressure,
those
and I
tight
do so
deadlines or
well.
pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in other ways, I don't. I can't be perfect all the time. I
Yeah.
can't. And I'm not. Yeah, I'm flawed. We all are. No one could. No one could have it all. Can do it all. Can be it all. And we just have to be a little easier on ourselves when it comes to this. Please tell me
It's
that's the
like we
case.
say
Thank you.
that we work best under pressure, but what if we only work under pressure because it doesn't feel safe to work without it? Like it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
we're actually going to work if we don't have the pressure, right? So it's almost like a crutch that we have. And the thing is that rush that we feel when we're last minute stress cleaning or like we have that last minute stress, it's not a strategy. It's self-inflicted survival mode. Like, so it's almost like we're in this cycle, right? We're like, okay, I know I got to clean the house, or I know I got to do this thing. And and the whole time we're like judging ourselves and shaming ourselves. I know I'm supposed to do this. And we keep putting it off. There's like another emergency or another thing that's more pressing that we have to do right this minute, right? And then all of a sudden it comes down to, oh no, I got to do this like right now. And we feel this like rush of adrenaline, and it feels, especially for people who work in high pressure, high stress industries, there is something thrilling about that, right? Like in my masterclass, I talk about the eustress, this phenomenon, right, where not all stress is bad. There's a form of stress called eustress. It's really positive. It actually
Yep.
amplifies your performance, your focus, your drive, but it's not sustainable. And a lot of times, people, those of us who have had a lot of high pressure jobs, we know that feeling, and it's like a drug. It's like the person who thinks like, oh, like I'm just so amazing when I just have that for like little bit of alcohol, right? Except then that turns into like not just one drink that gives you the liquid courage, it turns into two, or it turns into three, or it turns into like all of a sudden you're belligerent drunk, right? And stress has that same sort of effect. So yes, a little bit of it is valuable. It does kick us into the next gear, but if we rely on it too much, if it becomes a crutch for us, then we're not really serving ourselves. We're over serving ourselves something that doesn't really serve us at all.
Got it. Oh, wow. Great conversation from our life coach here, our burn through catalyst. Diana, how do we contact you? Tell us.
Yes, savorlifewithdiana.com. That's SAVOR lifewithdiana.com. You can also find me on Instagram, on Facebook at Diana Bejasa Speaks. And yeah, like I think that for me, it was really, really eye-opening to realize like, wow, I am chasing stress. There's something about it that I really like. There's something about it that's really comfortable for me, right? And once you start to explore like the things that you don't like that are in your reality that have been there for a long time, and you're like, wow, there's some part of me that enjoys this. It gives you this chance to really look at like, what part of me does feel comfortable in this? Why is it that this is what's required for me to change or for me to grow or for me to work, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody works that way, right? So it's
Yeah.
something unique to us, and I think it's something that when we look at that, we can start to just like have a little bit of this experience of like, um, what if this thing that I think works for me hasn't been working for me? Like if you think about it, like imagine if an emergency room, like a hospital, only was going to treat patients when they flatlined,
Yeah.
right? Like there would be this like rush, this thrill of the finally like helping this person, but like it's not really effective, right? Like we know that
Too late.
it's a really costly way to work, right?
Yeah.
Like say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Like if we were just to do a little bit, right? If we were to help proactively, that would be so much more worthwhile than just waiting till it's an emergency, right? So we don't need urgency to do great work. We just don't trust ourselves to work without that urgency, without that crisis forcing us.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I have to sneeze again. By the way, I'm sick. If you haven't noticed. uh,
Yeah.
so
Look at you, it's still going. I
I
love
know,
it.
but I have to blow my nose, so I'm going to hit the mute button. You're my friend. I could do this.
Okay.
Are you avoiding an identity crisis?
Yes. So let's talk about that because what I find is that if procrastination isn't laziness, right, and
Yeah.
pressure is this false sense of productivity, why are we still sabotaging our success? And because I think what's going on there is for many of us, the problem isn't failing, it's who we have to become if we succeed, right? So like if you have this clean home all the time, Jill, for example, is there this like feeling of pressure like now I need to maintain this all the time, right? Like my
Yep.
home has to be this perfect all the time and I just that's like overwhelming, I can't do it. You know what I mean? And why I say this is because there's this sense of fear that we have. It's kind of counterintuitive, depending on different things. Like what I found is that, like, we're not just afraid of failure. A lot of times we also have fear of success. We have fear of who we're going to be if we succeed, right? Who we
True.
have to be. We don't just procrastinate out of fear. We procrastinate out of identity protection. So if we finally finish the book, if we finally clean our home, right, then who do we become, right? What do we have to do next? And a lot of times that part of it can feel overwhelming because it's like, oh my God, like then I have to do all these different things. And I can totally relate to this, like like when I think about my divorce, for example. So that for me was like a very unexpected, like, blindsiding experience. And when it happened, like when I got served divorce papers, I was like, okay, like I'm not going back. Like I
Yeah.
have enough self-respect where um,
Yep.
I'm not going to like fight for something to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me, right? But at the same time, as much as I knew like there was no way I was going back,
Hmm.
I still dragged my feet on like filing the paperwork or doing all these different things, right?
Yep.
And I remember feeling like frustrated with myself because it was like, why am I doing this? Like, I want this divorce, right? I know I'm not going back. But the thing is, right, like there was a part of my identity that I was losing in it, right? There was a part of my life that I was saying goodbye to. There was just like a difficulty in that. And like a lot of times, have you ever watched Hoarders? The
Yes.
TV show?
My family jokes that it's me. I have one room in my house that does look like a hoarding room. Everything downstairs is perfect, beautiful. You would never know. And then as you go up the steps, there's the piles, which are getting better. But there is that one room. Doesn't look that bad. It's no way near being disgusting. It's all clean stuff, but it's all thrown in piles. But my
Yeah.
heart breaks for those people. It's
Yeah.
it's I can only imagine what you must be going on in your mind to really be like that. And then I feel better about myself, I must say, because I'm like, I'm not that bad. There's not dog poop, there's not feces, there's not food left out and maggots, but I mean, I feel like I have a tendency, so I need to stop this now. And for those that don't know, explain hoarders to them, please, Diana.
Yeah, so it's this show where they go into somebody's hoarding, like somebody who is hoarding into their home, and they like clean it up for them. And I actually really like watching hoarders when I want to clean my own home because like just the sight of the like the dirt and all that stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I can't get that extreme, right? And so I it helps me clean my home, which is probably twisted in its own way. But I share that because if you actually think about what's going on, right? Like we do get the satisfaction of us at the end, like they clean out the whole house, they like get rid of all the stuff, and like we feel satisfied. And that other person, that person who is the hoarder, may be like, yeah, this looks like much nicer. There's like much more clear space and room to breathe. But what do you think happens like a year after that episode?
I'd probably right back to the same thing. Do they get them the mental help too, or no? I don't know.
No, a lot of times it's just the external stuff, and
It must
that's
happen right
kind of
again,
what.
right? I'm going to
Yeah,
Google that later. I guarantee there's a story after the show like that, like the percentage of them that
yeah.
come back, or maybe they do a show like that, like a follow up, or no?
I don't know, but it's even like whenever we have these like these experiences like of like cleaning and like all those different things, right? Like a lot of times like people just go back to like finding new things to hoard, right? Or like whatever. And also if you think about the emotional experience for that person when they're going through having their hoarded stuff cleaned up, they're resistant the whole time. They don't want it to happen, right? Like they don't want to get rid of that stuff. They're being forced. So by nature, that experience is really traumatic and stressful and scary for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're letting go and they're feeling like good about it, right? There's no like
No.
Marie Kondo moment where they're like, this doesn't bring me joy anymore. Like, I'm going to let go of it. They're being forced, right? And not only that, they're being exposed. So they're being put in this place where they feel shame, right? Or they feel judgment because they're like because of the nature of their living situation. Like how would, none of us, myself included, would like it if there was somebody who just came into my house with a camera and like showed everybody my mess under my desk, right? And we're like, okay, now we're going to clean it all up for you, right? Like nobody feels good about that situation.
No, no, absolutely not.
And so I think that like instead of just cleaning up the thing, right? Or instead of just feeling like it's about like this thing that we're not doing, we really got to look at like why does that person do that? A lot of times the people who are hoarding, they come from like maybe they come from like Great Depression time where they didn't know when they were going to need something, right? And so it's like a survival mechanism that they're doing. And I mentioned this because it's like there's something about this identity that feels safe, that feels like what we need to do. Like um, it feels comfortable. And so there's part of us that even though we know that to get to the next level, we need to stop this habit of procrastination. That new level requires a new identity, and there's a shedding that's going on. There's a loss, there's a grief to that. And there's also a part of us that's fighting to stay loyal to that old person, right? And that's part of the procrastination. So when we realize, like, oh, if I'm going to finish what I started, that means that we've got to be looking at like, how can I close this gap between who I am and who I want to say and who I say I want to be, right? And to close that feels terrifying because maybe for you, Jill, it feels like, oh, well, once I have my house all clean, then I got to keep it in this like perfect state, right? Or like, I don't want to get rid of those old photos. They remind me of this thing, or they don't like whatever it is, like everybody has their own stuff, right? Um, there's something about those old shoes that feel comfortable. There's something about like, for the hoarder, like running through those rows, because like a lot of times, they have like an organized home or something like they know where all their stuff is. There's something about
Yes,
that
I
mess
do.
that's
I know where
comfortable.
everything. I love it when my son asks me, "Mom, where's this and this and that?" I'm like, and it's in that room, and I'm like, it's under this, under that, under the. Like, I know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Makes me feel
And
crazy,
there's
but
something
yeah,
safe about that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's something, you know exactly where your thing is. And you can just imagine how like if somebody came in there and like rearranged the whole room, right? Like that wouldn't feel safe in the slightest, right? Like it feels like a panic attack, right? So I think it's worth us looking at procrastination not as a productivity problem, but as an identity problem, and it's something where we can really look and ask ourselves, like, hmm, like, who am I holding on to?
Yeah.
Why is it not safe for me to let go of this pattern? What am I grieving if I let go? Right? Like, because a lot of times, like, we're not comfortable feeling our grief. Um,
No.
there's no amount of like motivational quotes or planners or like home organizers are going to fix that for us, right? We got to get to the root of like why we're feeling stuck, and we got to be a little more compassionate with ourselves, less shame, more self-compassion. And if I know we're pretty much rounding to the end of our episode, so if this hits home, if you want to talk more about this, like looking into and exploring like your identity, so that you really can get to where you want to go and stop feeling stuck where you are. You can book a consultation with me on my website. It's totally free, www.savorlifewithdiana.com. We can have this conversation to really figure out like what is it about this that's not feeling safe? Because you can go through that exploration yourself, but having somebody who can mirror it, somebody who has experience with this pattern, and also somebody who's not going to judge, that makes it a lot easier to clear out the junk, right? To air out what needs fresh, a fresh perspective, and to get to the place that you really want to be. So you have that available to you. You can always do a free consult with me. Again, it's savorlifewithdiana.com, SAVOR lifewithdiana.com. And we can do a call and begin that journey towards who you really want to be.
Thank you so much. Can I just ask you a personal question? I opened up about
Yeah.
my hoardingness, my piles, my organization. What was your identity crisis problem? Like, he's like, gosh, like a whole bunch. We don't have time for this. But did you have one in particular that you're working on or that you've overcome?
Yeah, I think that definitely the divorce stuff is still
Yeah.
something I would say that I'm going through. I'm still letting go of that identity of who I
Okay.
was.
And
And
career-wise
it's
too, as a
hard.
chef, the career-wise, is that also
Yeah,
part?
that was definitely one as well. So I
Yep.
remember how long it took me to tell people like I'm a coach, not and like how many times I would like choke on my words and want to say like I'm a coach, right? Like so it just takes time to shed an old identity to become who you really
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
And there's a grief process to growth.
Losing
And I think
that.
that many
And
people are not talking about that.
oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to talk more about that next time, but I got something else too. But thank you so much for sharing. And again, thank you for being here and dive deeper with her, scan her code. And again, Diana, we'll talk soon. Oh, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, how do we find you?
Diana Bejasa speaks.
Perfect. And that's spelled Bejasa, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Just in case you didn't know. Have a great day, sweetheart. Thank you for cheering me up
Thanks,
as
Jen.
always. Bye. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.